Welcome to the guide, Exile. In this guide series, we'll be taking a look at efficient leveling techniques for each act of Path of Exile's main story, each within its own video. This series will be mainly focused on directions and tricks for completing the main story and accompanying zones, and not for side quests or 100% completion to get you to endgame mapping as quickly as possible. The following are tips that are applicable to most of all of the acts and leveling in general. Every zone in Path of Exile makes use of its own tile set pieces, and randomly generates the zone layout from these tile sets. Some zones only have a singular layout that can occur, while others have many varied layouts. So along with directions for quests and zone orders, I will be providing simple maps that depict the general pathing for each zone's common layout as I speak about them. If zones are simply linear in their layout, I will not be providing a map. Here is an example map. The map lines are oriented at the same angle as the in-game map overlay to make translation more understandable. The white dot depicts the start of the zone. The light green line and dot depict the main path and exit to the next required zone. Blue dots depict waypoint locations. Gray lines and dots depict entrances to side zones, most of which are not required. If these side zones are required, it will be mentioned. Dark green lines and dots will depict directions to Trials of Ascendancy, only required to be done on one character once per league. Any NPCs that you will need to talk to within zones will be marked by the first letter in their name in this map. I will also reference directions to travel in zones as up, right, down, and left, or any combination of them in relation to these maps. Now, not all zones have dead giveaways for which layout they have generated, so it can be a guessing game until you have performed leveling a numerous amount of times and know what to expect from each tile set. Make sure to make use of your map overlay to scout out areas for doors and quest marker icons to help ease this process. While moving through all of these zones, it is important to remember to kill enemies as well to ensure that you stay within 2 levels of each new zone. I recommend trying to kill larger packs of white monsters and all magic and rare monsters while moving. So, kite these packs along while you are hitting them. It is not necessary to kill any unique monsters aside from quest-related bosses. You can make use of supplementary totems and traps along with your main skill to help expedite time to kill on these packs, so you'll not have to stop moving very often, since the goal of this guide is to be as efficient as possible. Flame Totem, Fire Trap, and Ancestral Totems make for great supplementary leveling skills. Which you choose depends on your starting character and main skill. It is also worth checking the vendor while you're in town for upgrades or movement speed boots if you are just starting in a league. Remember that vendor inventory is reset every time you level. Since there is such great build diversity, I will not be covering any specific build tips within this series. Make sure to take a look at my Beginner's Guide series, Part 8 and 9 for additional leveling and vendor recipes that can be useful. Now let's get started with Act 1. You begin washed ashore on the Twilight Strand, tossed at sea from a ship that chartered you against your will from Oriath upon your exile. You will want to pick up the weapon on the ground and kill the zombie for your skill gem. From here, socket your skill gem into your weapon and then run up, following along the shoreline. You can avoid attacking any monsters within the zone and head straight for the boss, Hillock. Take him down, attacking him with your main skill and replenishing your life or mana with the respective flask if necessary. Once you kill Hillock, enter the town Lion Eye's Watch. You will want to get anything that you require for early levels from your stash, such as uniques or quicksilver flasks. Speak with each NPC to receive your quest rewards and begin the next quests. Note that quests can be started and completed without speaking to any NPCs, but you will have to speak with the NPC to claim your reward. You will now want to enter the coast and move right along the shore, making your way up and around the cliffside back down to the shoreline. For this zone, you can perform a right-hand wall follow to make it around the various cliff sides. Tag the waypoint and keep moving right to the mudflats. It is recommended to complete Mercy Mission in the Tidal Island, which is down or right of the waypoint in the coast, if you do not have a Quicksilver Flask already. This zone is a simple circle shape. Move around either side to get to Hail Rake and claim the medicine chest. The side without the cliff is the shortest way. You will then want to portal back to town, claim your Quicksilver Flask, and waypoint back to the coast. In the mudflats, follow the small river layout to each of the 3 Rowan nests to gain the required quest items. These will generally be distributed in the center of the zone and easily visible on your map with the large quest marker icons. After you have all of the shells, move to the right of the zone, sometimes the direct top, to place the shells within the wall, opening the entrance to the submerged passage. There are a few layouts for the submerged passage. The most common is when the waypoint is to the left of the entrance. From the waypoint, you will want to keep moving straight down into the main portion of the zone, until you find a bridge that climbs up and crosses a chasm. If the waypoint is to the right of the entrance, you will again want to move down or up into the main portion of the zone, but instead move to the right looking for that same bridge. Once you encounter the bridge on either layout, place a portal on it. This portal will be used to access the side zone within this area shortly. Continue on past the bridge, moving right until you reach the next zone, the ledge. The ledge is a completely linear zone and has a waypoint in the center. Follow it until you reach the waypoint. Here you will want to take the waypoint back to Lion Eye's Watch and take your portal back to the submerged passage. Depending on which layout you had before will determine the direction you need to now go to find the Flooded Depths side zone. Enter the Flooded Depths once you come across it. This zone is fairly linear with many bridges as well as a few short dead ends. Make use of the map overlay to avoid these, until you encounter the Deep Dweller. Kill this unique boss to complete the Dweller of the Deep quest for a skill point. Return to town via a portal and talk with all of the NPCs to complete and receive your quest rewards. Take the waypoint back to the ledge. If the zone is new or you forgot which way you were going, simply go to the direction of the 3 small totems next to the waypoint. At the end of this zone will be the entrance to the climb. Most commonly, you will move to the top right of this zone in a linear pattern up through the cliff edges to the lower prison. You do not need to find the waypoint in this zone, but it is often along the main path. If this is your first character of the League, you will encounter Navali before you enter the lower prison. To save her, you must kill the unique goatman, the Fawn. After this, Navali will be accessible in any main town to claim prophecies from. The lower prison has many varied layouts that can be tough to discern from each other, with no dead giveaways at the beginning of the zone. For the most part, going right has better odds of being the correct direction. Make your best efforts to avoid dead ends and move through to the next zone. If this is your first character of the League and you come across the Trial of Ascendancy in this zone, you may complete it now or come back later via the waypoint. The upper prison has many varied layouts as the lower prison. Here there is a fairly even distribution on which direction to initially take to get to the next entrance. Again, do your best to avoid dead ends and make your way to the Warden's Chambers. Move through the Warden's Chambers following the Path of Blood, bringing you to Brutus, Lord Incarcerator. Brutus can be deadly to players with low physical mitigation that must engage in melee range, and even for ranged players due to his hook ability. Ensure to move around avoiding his ground slam and hooks. After you defeat him, make your way to the Prisoner's Gate and take the waypoint back to town. Complete your quests and retrieve your rewards. Tarkley will reward you with a movement skill for the Caged Brute quest. Ensure to get a movement skill that can maneuver over ledges and gaps, like Flame Dash or Leap Slam. Waypoint back to the Prisoner's Gate and look for the side of the road that has the ledge. This is generally to the right side of the road or the side that does not have an immediate wall. Move down this ledge with your movement skill or take an available ramp, and continue through the canyons and opening zones until you arrive at the ship graveyard. The ship graveyard zone has many different and varied layouts, so it may be vastly different per run through the game. You will want to make an effort to find the waypoint in this zone first, which is generally near the beginning of the zone. To the left or the right of the waypoint, you should find a small plateau that has fair graves on it, marked by an F on my guide map. Once you have found it, move in a direction away from the entrance and the plateau, generally up or down. Following the coast can work in some scenarios, but will not always work. You will find one of the 2 zones first: the main exit, which is the Cavern of Wrath, or the side zone, the Ship Graveyard Cave. If you find the Ship Graveyard first, enter it and move to the end, gathering the Allflame. Exit the cave, returning you to the entrance, and continue forward to the Cavern of Wrath. Once you enter it, take the waypoint back to the ship graveyard waypoint, and defeat Fairgraves on the plateau to complete the Marooned Mariner quest for the skill point. If you find the Cavern of Wrath first, move into it and tag the waypoint inside of it. After that, go back out to the ship graveyard and look for the ship graveyard cave. Once you find the cave within a destroyed ship, enter it and move to the end, gathering the Allflame. Now portal out of the cave and take the waypoint from the town back to the ship graveyard and go to Fairgraves on the plateau to defeat him to complete the Marooned Mariner quest for a skill point. Now return to town and claim your quest rewards, most importantly, your level 12 active skill gem, such as Sunder or Firestorm. Waypoint back to the Cavern of Wrath. This zone is actually fairly linear, but can have you go up or down to the right. You will easily be able to discern the two directions quickly, since you won't be able to go in one of the ways after a short distance. Once you get to the end, you will then enter the Cavern of Anger. This cavern, like the last, is fairly linear and will generally have you go to the bottom right. You will want to keep your eyes out for piles of gold, signaling you are going in the right direction. You can also make use of the chanting spirits that will beckon at you. These will generally guide you in the correct direction. You will know you are at Merville's lair once you begin to see numerous piles of gold strewn about. Merville is the final boss of Act 1, and is a straightforward, two-phase boss fight with all cold-based moves. Ensure to have cold resistance ready and stay out of her slowing cold projectiles and jet streams, taking down any ads she spawns for flask charges. She can be especially annoying for melee range characters as she teleports around frequently. After Merville has fallen, you have completed Act 1. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, Exile.